Hi, welcome to a run-through of all the Blu-rays and videos that I watched during April 2024. Mix of science fiction, fantasy, as well as horror, and also just general as well. So the first one, Rise of the Zombies. This was a very cheapo one, probably 50p or something, I think, from a local charity shop. It'd been sitting there for a while. I thought, you know what, I must watch that. It was full of action. One of those films that you think, actually best not to think. But it did actually have some really good scenes where they were set in Alcatraz. They were also trying to work out a cure for the disease as well, which I thought was good because quite often in these sort of zombie films, they never do. They're always sort of going from one place to the next. They're all getting infected. But in this one, at least there was a bit of an attempt to discover a cure, which I thought was good. Also had a decent selection of extras as well. But it was a very sort of low budget sort of film. Maybe they spent a fortune on it, but that's what I assumed it was low budget. The Seagull. Love this. Really love this. Now, it wasn't for everyone. I looked at a lot, obviously, of reviews, other reviews. Lots of people didn't seem to like it at all. Based on the Chekhov play, I think it virtually followed the entire script. I haven't done a comparison, but I love that it says there, Annette Bening. I think she's very good, but I don't actually think that she really was the main character at the same time. It's the main character as far as I was concerned for the whole story, but it was a love triangle all the way through. Every character that was like the writer or the doctor, and everyone was in love with someone else, and whole load. Elizabeth Moss was very good, very unusual character, but that was a very enjoyable little story there. The Crazies, no love triangles in there at all. Basically what happens, small village, small town I should say, ends up having an infection. Now, there's reasons for it. There's something happens at the start of the film, we find out. And, of course, bit by bit, people start going mad. There's a person in prison that goes it's completely deranged. Also, the initial part of the story, there's a football field and this guy a farmer, comes across and, well, at that point, you know something's slightly odd. But at that point, of course, all the rest of the people watching have no realisation what was actually going to happen. Just the police officer goes and does something. And from then on, of course, you've got those four characters there. That's the main part of it. I was quite pleased to actually see the characters from Flash. I can't remember her name, but still. And the others were very good as well. Actually, they were all very good. And, of course, you always find out who is going to be the next to be infected. So there's that one. I love this one. I was quite surprised. THX 1138, George Lucas's obviously film, the director's cut. Lots of people put in lines saying, oh, he's messed around with it and all that sort of thing. Personally, I didn't actually have a problem with the bits that were sort of obviously changed, that from being slightly modernised. It wasn't a big deal, but not only that, to be fair about, they will say, oh, it's ruining the history of the film, but it even included the original one, Lucas's original student film. I thought that's really odd, that one. Mainly, I can see why you would never put that as a Hollywood film, because all it was a character running around all the time, sort of going around and sort of moving from backwards and forwards, which of course much the same with the rest of the film. This one, I loved Donald Pleasance as well. He was great. Robert Duvall. But it was a very watchable film, and I thought, yes, I'm really pleased. I've finally seen it for years and years and years. I thought, I must see this film. It was one of those science fiction films that I hadn't seen. But it also, like I say, comes with a lot of decent extras there. You can see down on the back, commentaries, and also theatre and noise. I always love those ones where they talk about the sort of sound and those. And there's other ones, Electrical, Labyrinth. Oh, two documentaries, A Legacy of Filmmakers. That was very good. Legacy of the Filmmakers, the early years of American, I can never say it, zoetrope, and also Artifact from the Future. Very, very watchable. In fact, yes, I probably enjoyed the documentary even more than the film, but it was a good film. I love this as well. King Kong. This was from 1976. Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange, and thoroughly enjoyable. Saw it when it came out, loved it then, and it was still enjoyable to watch it. And of course now super cleaned up and all restored in the usual, as it says there, a restored 1976 reimagining of the classic monster story, towering 4K restoration. And it was great. I didn't realise it was so long, 134 minutes. Really shocked me that. But it also had a lot of great things here, deleted scenes. They were good. They were very good as well. Interviews, I enjoyed those, as well as audio commentary, and also the usual original trailer. Again, they always have to put the original trailer in it. But it was a decent King Kong. And, of course, I've been watching the other King Kongs, the recent ones, of course, Godzilla and King Kong. Though saying that, I have yet to watch the Godzilla versus King Kong. I'm really looking forward to see, of course, the latest film as well. Season of the Witch. Now, I got a copy of this. This one, I didn't actually watch this one. I watched another one, thrown that away because it had a real scratch over it. This one at least does actually play properly. But when I was watching it, like someone had put their dinner on it or something. I don't know what it was. Dinner, as well as a few scratches. And it weirdly kept on jumping. And I had to take it out and look at it. I thought, oh, crumbs. So I cleaned it up and it was okay after that, sort of. But it still had weird smearing of the picture. Very strange when it does that. Crusaders, and that sort of time. Nicolas Cage is always great. I thoroughly enjoy Nicolas Cage. Ron Perlman as well, he was brilliant. And also Christopher Lee. I mean, just wow. Christopher Lee in that. It was just, and Claire Foy. Claire Foy is always great. I love Claire Foy in many of the things she's been in as the witch. And you can see all hell will break loose. The conclusion was slightly odd. I just thought they sort of felt a bit rushed after all the way through the film. It was a slow build-up. It was a bit sort of like Magnificent Seven, I suppose. Those sort of characters get together to go off and things, and then one by one sort of things obviously go wrong. It's manipulation of the people. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Was it a masterpiece? No, but it was certainly worth a couple of hours watching, and definitely recommended. American Hustle. I think this was overly long. I mean, I did thoroughly enjoy it. It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, what a cast. I must admit, I loved this hairstyle. That hairstyle was absolutely amazing. But it's got Christian Bale, I should say. Bradley Cooper, always excellent. Amy Adams, brilliant. Jeremy Renner, as well as Jennifer Lawrence. And that was just a great cast and thoroughly enjoyable. But at times I felt it did sort of like, they could have cut bits of it that would have made it maybe a bit faster. It was just overly long for me. I did actually at one point fast forward a bit. Mistakenly, I pressed the wrong one, so I had to go backwards and forwards. Sometimes I regret doing that. If I fast forward for a film, I think, no, don't do it, because then I completely confuse where I am in the film. But it was magnificent. The film of the year, it says, by many a mile. I guess it was. I mean, I just thought it was nice and twists and things. I mean, he's always great as the, FBI and all that sort of stuff. It was, and he's mayor, and you've obviously got the two con people, I guess that's what I say. And of course Jennifer Lawrence playing the wife of Christian Bale, and it was very, very watchable. Nice 1970s film. Some great bits of music. I loved the Jennifer Lawrence bit when she was going along sort of to the music. I just thought it was brilliant. That was great, and they got the extended selection of that as well. Some really good deleted and extended scenes. And also the making of American Hustle was quite interesting. In many ways, I wish I'd watched that first, but then it would have spoiled the surprise, of course, about what was going to happen. But it was, I've had it on my Blu-ray on my shelves for ages and ages. And I thought, I watched something else and it was mentioned American Hustle. I thought, oh, I must watch that. I'm glad I did. But like I say, it was 134 minutes, which I thought was a bit excessive. I'm going for a bit of an Amy Adams, obviously, run through here, as well as Emily Blunt, who I think is brilliant. Watched another good film with Emily Blunt in, and Sunshine Cleaning. I've gone to a bit of actually work part-time as a cleaner. So I've got a cleaning job and I love doing that. It's great. And so when you watch it, I'm not doing murder scene cleans. That would be a real unusual. Sunniest, funniest, most uplifting film you'll see all summer. I don't know about that, but it's certainly a funny film. And they're both absolutely brilliant running this company, completely hapless in places. I mean, really, even I think if I was starting the crime scene one, I would know not to do some of the things they were doing, you just wouldn't. But that was the fun of it, of course. You're watching it, just very enjoyable. So you got here special features as well. I actually love the special feature. The feature, a fresh look at the dirty business. And that's these two people just chatting about their sort of cleaning murder scene. It was just actually all the hazmat suits and things, all those sort of things, all the things that, of course, they did completely wrong in this film. And I don't want to spoil it. I actually thought this was one of my favourite films I've watched for a long time. But, of course, it's getting pretty bad when you start watching films about something you've just sort of started doing. I'm cleaning for my local gym, where I go and do all my Zumba classes and things. So I thought, so you start getting obsessive about things about cleaning. You think, oh, yes, I better get look, you start watching YouTube videos about things you've got problems of those sort of things. Well, each their own. Darling, this is very enjoyable as well. Vintage classic. I love 60s films, and sometimes some of these 60s films are pretty awful, but this one wasn't bad. Was it the best of the ones? Julie Christie was great. I'm not really a fan of Lawrence Harvey. I don't know why. There's something about him that I just never enjoyed. Dirk Bogarde was great. I really, really loved Dirk Bogarde in this. And it was good, though. I didn't, sorry, a story based on fact. I didn't realise that. Good time girl of the era. Obviously, it's a freelance female who moves from bed to bed on the presumption that fidelity, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, there's a television interview. That's Dirk Bogarde. And also Lawrence Harvey is an advertising executive and a whole range of other people that are involved. Thoroughly enjoyed. I loved when they went off to Europe as well. That was a great little scene. But a lot of it was set in London. Lots of scenes of London in the 60s, which is always fascinating to watch. And this, I thought, was a very enjoyable, watchable film. The Awakening. I started watching this. It was a great film. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Awakening. Rebecca Hall, Dominic West, two great actors. Also Imelda Staunton, all excellent actors. I was watching it. I thought, I've seen this before. I completely forgotten I'd seen it. It was a BBC production. So it was one of those ones, a BBC film. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Going to this school. And it's not as what you think it is all the way through. Of course, there's various things. It starts going through a sort of science. And sort of she exposes various things. So she's sort of trying to prove that ghosts, etc., don't exist. Because, of course, this is at the time of the First World War, just after the World War, where people died, obviously, from influenza at that the pandemic back then. So you've got the storyline, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. The creepy school, it was just brilliant. I don't know, was it a creepy school? Well, actually saying that, the dollhouse, again, sorry, a slight spoiler, but the dollhouse is not particularly of significance in terms of, well, maybe it is. Someone might put a comment saying, yes, it was. But I love the dollhouse. I just think any films with dollhouses, for somehow weird reason, they always somehow are slightly creepy. You sort of look at, when you first see them, you think, what's going to be in there, or whatever. But that was good. There you got the rabbit as well. Odd little things are creepy like that, aren't they? But The Waking, very good with Rebecca Hall, who I think is a superb actress. Dominic West always plays Dominic West as far as but he's still great. Though I don't know, saying that, he was in The Wire. I know I have never seen that. I know it's considered one of the best TV series ever. It's one of those ones I really must make an effort to see at least a few episodes. But I didn't stop, obviously, watching it from the start. So I think to myself, I mean, there's probably millions of episodes, so I don't want to go back and start watching all those. This was good. Wasn't brilliant, but for £8, I was very pleased to watch it. And it's a Blu-ray, of course. No, it's not 4K, is it? No, it wasn't a 4K. No. But the Marvels. I suspect the 4K one was probably more expensive than that, so I didn't buy it. But it was still very watchable. I thought the three... Now, I guess it depends if you've actually seen, of course, Miss Marvel in the TV series, the Disney one. If you come to it completely unaware of the character, also, of course, and also, obviously, whatever her name was, Captain Monica Rambeau. Now, not an actress or particularly a character in Marvel that I'm particularly familiar with, so it was still, I worked out very quickly all the various things with. And, of course, you've got Nick Fury there as well. And now, the villain wasn't, well, I don't even think she was really a villain. That was the thing about it. I was coming across, I was thinking, well, you know, what she was doing was a bit of a spoiler again on that. So there was obviously a lot of battles and things. There were and there were some really quite decent ones, I thought. But I know lots of people think, oh, it's terrible. But it was watchable. I might not watch it. I might probably think, if I watched it again, I might think it's terrible. So it's one of those ones you never can tell. Love this one, The Love Witch. This was surreal, weird, most odd film. And it sort of gives a feeling that it's like the 1960s. Now, you know it's not 1960s. As soon as you see the cars and all the buildings, clearly it's not set in the 60s. But it's got that feel. They obviously tried to film it like that. And I thought it's great where she's sort of stationed. You can see there, the scene there. And it's very watchable. Very, very. She's a beautiful young witch determined to find a man to love her. In her gothic San Francisco apartment, she brews love potions. You can guarantee that's virtually a recipe for going wrong. But still, it was a very watchable film. Like I said, Technicolor thriller of the 1960s. as soon as I saw a trailer for it, I thought, I must get that. And I certainly lived up to the trailer, so it was very worth watching. She loved men to death, though that wasn't a fast, but there was lots of twists and turns, of course, in that. There was decent extras as well, and there's the details at the back there. Special features. You've got various behind the scenes, you've got interviews, always love the ones when it's with the cinematographer. That's always good. Deleted and alternative scenes, as well as the dance audition, which I thought was a real nice additional touch. Love this one, West 11. West 11 was great. Alfred Lynch. Don't know particularly if I've seen him in anything else. Probably everyone's going to say, oh, he's in XYZ. Probably true. Now, Diana Dawes, she was absolutely amazing. It was great. Now, she did have a big role in this, but it was still very, very good, very watchable. And I actually quite like the woman as well. I can't remember her name now. Kathleen Breck. Eric Portman was superb as the, obviously, colonel or whatever he was, a captain. I mean, you knew from start to finish what he was. I mean, he was doing things, he was taking things, he had no scruples at all. And it was just, let's say, based on The Furnished Room, Michael Winner, Winners, I would say Michael Winner, British social realism's authentic portrayal of the grittier dark side of West London. And it was a real great snapshot of that time. There was lots of the streets that I recall. No, not particularly, obviously it was the 60s, but certainly a bit later on where I used to live around that area. And it was just, wow, just great to see all those streets again. This one, thoroughly enjoyed, and you can see there. Oh, the chess pieces. West 11, absolutely brand new restoration, vintage classics, really worth checking out. Studio Canal. This was a fun film. I mean, it was absolutely it's not one I'll probably ever watch again, but I got it. It was in charity. You can see 60p. I quite often pick up these sort of DVDs, 60p, and you can see there. But it told the Hercules stories in a slightly different way, where they're sort of a band of sort of warriors and all that sort of stuff, but they're more, I say not con men, but they were certainly telling a story about how wonderful he was, that he was the son of God and all that sort of stuff. But it also had some decent DVD of there and special features as well, and the cast was very decent. Now, you always, when you watch these films, you always think, which character is going to die? Of course, Magnificent Seven sort of character, and you got obviously Ian McShane, and also, of course, Rufus Sewell, who's always great. Don't know, I love the way they put her on the front cover because she hardly appears in the film. So if you're expecting to see lots of this character, she's not. But it's obviously the archery character there. Archer, I should say. Archer, whatever. Dracula Untold. As my mate said, if you love Dracula with a Welsh accent, it's going to be brilliant. And I did enjoy it. It was very watchable. I mean, I thought it was fine. It was nothing like, of course, it was just a sort of nice telling it more from sort of, he wasn't, the vampire that we know later on, of course. And also it was quite nice the way it sort of, should I say spoiler again? Another bit of a spoiler. Of course, he's on the back there. You can see Charles Dance, who is it? I think probably in every film that I've just shown. Probably he was in American Hustle as well. He seems to be in everything. Charles Dance, I virtually guarantee. This says year was 1462. And Dominic Cooper's great as well. Love Dominic Cooper. He's always good in virtually everything I've seen him ever do. But Charles Dance, Game of Thrones. It says, I think I saw Game of Thrones. And actually, I didn't watch much of Game of Thrones. I watched about 2 or 3 scenes, and the scene I watched was with Charles Dance was in it, and I thought, no, he's not in it. But he's great. He's like Bill Nighy. Bill Nighy's like virtually everything as well. But this one was interesting effects. I thought it was quite nice with the bats and things. They were done well. But overall, he was a real likeable, sort of interesting character, really determined to, obviously, with his kingdom that he had to. I mean, it was a bit much, wasn't it? When they start, again, don't want to say spoilers. Tamara Drewe, it was fine. Again, Dominic Cooper again. He had a sort of an unusual case. He was a sort of like this musician that was not very likeable, actually. He was actually probably the source point for the whole film. That he was sort of like everything happened sort of because of this character. I mean, she's great. I mean, fine. Gemma Atherton, I can never say Atherton. Roger Allen. I love Roger Adam. Of course, Endeavour, he was great. Actually, the cast was Tasman Greig as well, Luke Evans again. He was good. And also Bill. So, obviously, this month has definitely seems to be a Luke Evans month as well. And these kids as well, they were real. They were central to the story as well. Brilliant. Once the ugly duckling of a rural Dorset village, Tamara returns as a glamorous high-flying journalist, ruffling feathers. Now, I thoroughly also enjoyed, of course, it's based on a book, graphic novel. I love all her work, just absolutely superb. Posy Simmons, definitely worth checking out for many of her little short stories and things. But this was a really nice thing. Now, was it the best British film of the year? No, certainly wasn't, but it was watchable. Now, lots of people put comments saying it was a terrible film. I didn't think it was that bad. This was good. I think you're probably getting the feeling that probably all of my videos that I watch are good. I have watched some really terrible videos, but then generally I might watch it about 2 minutes of it and think, that's it. I know it's going to be rubbish. There are some films you think, no. This one was great. My Week with Marilyn. I'm not a fan of Eddie Redmayne, but he wasn't too bad in this. Kenneth Branagh was great as Olivier. I thought that was good. Michelle Williams, of course, Marilyn. She was very, very good. And I love most things that she does. Michelle Williams had a real great character all the way through this. And it had a decent untold story of an American icon as a feature. Would have been nice if they had a few more extras. Would have been good. But still, this is set in 1956. It was well done. Nice sort of period, obviously set at the studios at that time. Prince and the Showgirl was the film, which I have never watched. One day I must sit and watch that film. Marilyn Monroe. Finally, the final one. Actually, I haven't got any 4Ks. I bought a lot of 4Ks, but I haven't actually watched any of them, which is terrible, isn't it, buying them and never actually getting around to watching them, but you can't watch everything. And I love that, £1. Quite often, some of my favourite films from Keck are the ones that I pick up for a 50p or £1, because, you get the sort of classics that you sort of like, everyone knows, and I've probably watched already before, but these sort of things, you think, oh, I'll give that a go. Wild Target. It's got Bill Nighy, who's always good. Emily Blunt, not a fan of Rupert, but he was quite good. Rupert Grint and Martin Freeman, always good. I love Martin Freeman, virtually everything he does, so that's always very watchable. And it was a fun film where it's about an assassin. He's a middle-aged, solitary assassin who lives to please his formidable mother, Eileen Atkins. Despite his peerless reputation for lethal efficiency, of course, Emily Blunt gets into his life, and also Rupert Grint as well. And then, of course, what happens? Martin Freeman needs to be involved. Actually, Rupert Everett was in it as well, and he was brilliant. I loved all his first group of people that he had. They were completely hapless bodyguards or security people, whatever. But he was an estate agent. He obviously made his money, but he was looking for various paintings, and that's the whole point of the film, really, when it all goes slightly problematic. It's got bonus. It would have been nice if they had a few more extras. But I actually genuinely enjoyed the extras because they'd sort of like had these interviews where they asked questions from all the actors. So they went like Bill Nighy, what was blah, 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 Emily Blunt, what was, etc., etc. It went on for quite a while. It was, I thought it was quite, I ended up staying virtually watched every single one of them. They were okay, interesting, some better than others. So that was it. So that's a run through. Now, for some weird reason, I didn't seem to watch that many films. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I split it off a film over a sort of 2 days. Sometimes I think, oh, crumbs, I can't watch. You watch a 2.5 hour film, you think, I'm just going to watch an hour and a half, and I leave it in there for a bit, and then get back to it and watch a bit more of it. So next film I'm going to watch, I've got Barbarella. I'm looking forward to that. I've been wanting to watch that forever. I've got the Blu-ray for it. I wanted to get the 4K, but the 4K one was only in America, and the prices are ridiculous. So until that comes out, maybe. But I'll see the Blu-ray, and if the Blu-ray is really good, because I remember seeing it about 20, 25, 30 years ago. It hasn't been on TV recently, I don't think. So it would be nice to see. And also got, of course, lots of other films as well. And I will be going through that. Hopefully I must get through some of my 4Ks. I don't buy as many 4Ks. I just don't. I find 4Ks, I have more problems with 4Ks than I have with Blu-rays. I don't know about you. Maybe you have problems with it. But you put them in the machine, and most of the time, they just don't play. Now, maybe it's my machine. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It doesn't like me for some weird reason. But it's going to, you put it in, And it whirls around, you hear it whirring around, whirring around, whirring around, and you think, and then you take it out, put it back in again, whirs around a bit more, whirs around, and so on. And I do that for about 5-10 minutes, I think that's it. And I go and get a Blu-ray, put the Blu-ray in, then take the Blu-ray out, put the 4K back in, and then it works. And you think, what's wrong with that? Why? It seems weird. And you look at this, there's, obviously there might be a microscopic sort of like little crack or something, or some damage to it that's blocking it. Now, that's not every 4K, but I seem to have a more sort of problems with 4K ones more than others. And actually, because I've only got a really average 4K TV. It's not a brilliant one. It's not a brilliant model, nor the player. I don't think that probably I benefit much from having a 4K. Whenever I do put the 4K on, I look at the picture. It's okay, and the sound's fine. But is it much better? Most cases, and everyone will argue the thing. Obviously, in some cases, the HDR, the colouring is great, makes a slight difference. But most of the time, I look at it and think, well, frankly, the Blu-ray is just as good as the 4K. And I imagine that I would probably think the same with the 8K. How much more could you ever get when basically the picture is going to be, it's not the greatest picture probably in the first place. It probably was only filmed to about that sort of HD Blu-ray format. Anyway, so I love watching those. What have you been watching? Have you been watching any science fiction ones, horror films? What's on your list to buy? I bought lots from the sale of the indicator ones. I haven't watched any of them after buying them, but I've just got all the boxes and things that will come through, and I will be going through some of those and watching them. Mainly they're sort of like British films, which I enjoy watching, especially like 60s ones. So those ones, do you enjoy watching those ones? Those science fiction films? What's your favourite science fiction film? What's your favourite horror films? All those sort of things. Always fascinating to know. Because, I've got, which ones would you suggest as well? Because maybe, I've been showing some of these ones, but I assume they're not the best of films. There's always going to be people out there saying, yes, why don't you watch this or watch that? So, anyway, please subscribe to the channel. Always adding, of course, lots of book reviews as well. I'm not going to put vast amounts of these sort of ones about films. I love films, but I don't want to really sort of turn the channel into films and those sort of things as much as I love them. But we'll cover those things. And also records as well, of course, CDs. I love lots of them. Got loads of albums recently as well. So that's another thing that I must check out and do some videos as well. Also, please subscribe and bye.